In the last episode, we made sure that we had a very good switch between the strategy and the disease and even a second opinion. But with farm strategy, when you ask, when can I harvest the crop, there is some advice, but does the agent know what it's really talking about? So my groundnut is 115 days old. Yada, yada, yada. Should I harvest this week or push it back a few days? We've asked this question before. And let's see what kind of response we really get and dive into what we're doing today. Given what's happening with the leaf yellowing, I'd say harvest this week rather than wait, pushing back once check a few pods, once harvest in the morning. So it gives a lot of advice, but it doesn't actually know what the weather will be like. It doesn't know if there's going to be a storm, there's going to be a heat wave, because it says when the soil moisture is a bit firm, lay the plants out on tarp or clean ground for 3 to 5 days for drying. But is it going to be heavy moisture? It knows none of that. So in this episode, we change that by building our first tool. And so far, Claude has just been using the farm state, the farmer's response, and the data that any LLM is trained on, right? It's not real world current data. And the way Claude solves it is that it introduces Claude tools. And a Claude tool is basically just a function you describe to Claude. You tell it the name, what it does, and what the argument it has. And when Claude thinks it needs to call the function, it won't call it directly. That's in our control. It will send a tool use block telling you which tool to call and with arguments, and our code will call it, right? And that's the function that you see here called get weather. So here's what it would look like. We are here at episode 10, where we have farm strategy and we have this new get weather tool. And when there's a tool use loop happening, I've shown it with arrows like this, but it's really our code calling this function and then giving the response back to the Claude call. And then the Claude final response will be informed with this current weather, and then it will go to the reply. And the API they're using is a free API called WTTR.in. You can just use it without credentials pretty much. So how does it get called? Before that, we are going to describe this tool in what is called a tool schema. So this is where we have the name of the tool, the description of the tool, and the input schema. The input schema, the only thing that's really required is the location, but this is what does the real heavy lifting. So if I just written get weather or something, Claude would just miss it because it wouldn't understand how it related to farm strategy or with harvesting or any of that, or watering or any of that, right? So the more well formed the description is, the better the tool is going to work. So once that constant has been determined, we go to the actual farm strategy API call where there are some changes. And we have our regular trying to get the state of the farm. And in the state of the farm, we get the history of the conversation. And in our regular call, we first tell Claude that, hey, we have access to this tool now. So this is a new line where we say we have this weather tool and the rest of it is same. If it determines that I need the weather to inform my opinion, it will send us a tool use indicator. So we are now in a tool use loop, and that will be its top reason at the end of its first output. And if that is, we will get the location. And in this case, it's Amreli, Gujarat. So it could be XYZ for whatever location that farm is. And we get the weather from it. That whole function runs. We take out the JSON. And if it doesn't work with the API, we just say weather data unavailable. And then we send the final response. Now, you see the final response. It has its history and it has the rest of the things. But now it has the type for the tool result. It has a tool use ID that we use this tool and the actual weather content. And this is going to be used for its response to the farmer via the WhatsApp function. So there we have it. That's the whole cycle of it being informed by the weather. So one more thing we realized when testing is that Haiku did not really understand when to call the tool use. Now, this is very critical for any farm operation or anything that depends on the weather. So we replaced it with Sonnet, but there is another way to do it, which could be cheaper in the short term, which is to forcibly call the tool use for everything. So in that case, you would not wait for the tool use block. You would simply call it for everything. So even if the farmer says, good morning, you would call the tool use. Now, if the API is free and it's very accessible, or you have a local weather station providing you this information, that's great. Yeah, that's what you should do. That's more deterministic. But in this case, we just went with Sonnet because we thought that it can know when to do this, and we would not even have to enforce it with any kind of rules in the prompt. This has been replaced to Claude Sonnet. So let's go ahead and try the same message and see if it understands that this is what it has to pick up. There we go. So with 80% humidity and patchy rain nearby, this makes the timing decision more urgent. So it immediately responds with real world data that there is a lot of humidity and it looks like rain is going to come back. Try and see if you can find a way to dry it in a cool, dry place and go on. So a dry window in this week is your best shot. So this is a very good message sent with some urgency after looking at real world data that we got by calling the tool. And one more thing that I can show with Vercel is how this flowed. So we made the call, like a check call 200 OK. Then we actually send the message in and it classifies it as a farm strategy. And then the agent routes it from the farmer's number. And then we get like another HTTPS. And then we're doing the weather. We get the weather function. And for that particular location, this is basically what the weather is. And then we send one more. So this is the third call. And then we finally get the output to the farmer. And so there we have it. We have the first tool that was made to call an external data not in Claude's training and something that is very current and not knowable by an LLM model to inform the AI's strategy in responding to the user. So in the next episode, what we're going to do is we are going to look at higher severity cases because so far the bot has been giving advice pretty confidently. And even though we added a second opinion, we want a way to escalate this to a real human. So we're going to look at escalation strategies where we just need to go past the AI and give the case to a real human being when something is really critical. And that's what we'll have a look at in episode 11. Thank you so much and have a great day.